My girlfriend of 2 years cheated and I didn't find out till she was engaged 3 months later, but I got the last laugh. We met in college, where we were both going to school. She was 22 and I was 24. Before her, I hadn't been on many dates. I had just broken up with someone after a bad relationship that lasted a year and didn't work out. The saddest girl was the other one. Even though I loved her, she was so sad that I didn't know what to do. I think of myself as a healer, and her sadness would seep into me. I ended it. My ex-boyfriend kind of came up to me because we both lived in the same apartment building. I had gone out of my way to help her a few times, but it was when she asked for a ride that we became friends and then romantically involved. I would talk to her for hours, whether she was at home or at the sandwich shop where she worked. Because she was depressed and had a failed engagement about a year ago, she wasn't going to school. But as far as I know, she never finished school and moved twice to different universities. We had some things in common, like how she said her ex had cheated on her and abused her. But I'm not sure how much of that story was accurate. We couldn't be separated. She met her parents for the first time after 2 months of FWB. After a few months, I wanted her to be my girlfriend because I wasn't interested in any other girls. She said no, saying she wasn't ready because she was already engaged. I should have seen this as the first red flag, but I was a fool and let her off the hook. We kept going out on dates alone. She and I both didn't go out with anyone else. When a month went by, I brought up our relationship status again. If we were already dating, I thought it would be best to be honest about it. She fought it off again. During our relationship, there were times when everything seemed great. It looked like she liked all the things I liked. We had the same goals, so it seemed like we were meant to be together. But sometimes I would hear people talking behind my back about me. She would talk about her other ex-boyfriends and compare me to them. Sometimes we would fight over something so small. I would try to calm her down, but she wouldn't listen. I would sometimes chase after her when she ran out of my flat. She would get mad at me for that and tell me I should give her room. The next time she did that, I wouldn't go after her, and she would say I didn't care about her. She also started to lie to me about things I thought she had said, even though I didn't know what that meant at the time. But I fell in love with it and went with it. A lot of my friends would tell me I could do better when I talked about her. I knew she wasn't treating me right, but I didn't care. Most of the time, friends are looking out for you, so listen to them. Even after meeting for a year, I would still bring up the idea of becoming legal BF/GF, but she was still strong. She kept telling me she wasn't ready, but I was the best guy she had ever been with. Her friends knew we were seeing each other, but I didn't like them. She would ask me to hang out with them, but I don't like people who are too typical. I would also say that I wasn't there because I'm allergic to cats. We went on more dates over time, and she called me every night. We talked on the phone until one of us woke up the next morning. She told me that I made her feel better and helped her sleep because she was depressed. We were still having problems, and she would sometimes even get physical. 2 times, she hit me hard with her hand. She did both of them because she thought it would be funny, not because we were fighting. I told her over and over that was rude and that since I would never do that to her, I expected her to do the same. That one time we were fighting, she said, my roommate knows all the guys in the complex who would be willing to be NCMOs, so I don't really need you. But after dating for a little over a year, she finally gave in and said yes to being GF/BF. I noticed that she didn't tell anyone but her family about it, though. It seemed strange to me, but since I had what I wanted, I didn't pay any attention to it. I'm going to be honest and say that I wasn't always a great so. The stress of work, school, family, and her sometimes became too much for me to handle. I yelled at her, but I never hurt her. She had done things that hurt me, and I would tell her about them. We broke up several times. She and I would break up every once in a while. But every time, one of us would give in and come back to the other. I hurt myself one time to show her how much it hurt me because I was being naughty. She had also hurt herself and said she was depressed while we were dating, and to be honest, that's where the idea came from. I loved her very much. She told me she was with me. We talked about kids, weddings, where we would live, and other things. She moved twice during this time. First to an apartment across the street, and then to her parents' house an hour to the north. She had a party when she lived in the flat across the street. When it was over, only I stayed to help clean up with her friends. She told me this showed I would make a good husband. I would see her almost every week after she moved in with her folks. But I started to notice that there was sometimes a bit of space between us. She was taking longer and longer to answer my calls and texts. But she expected a quick answer when she called or texted me. When she called for me, I would come to her. Even at 1 a.m., when I had to be at work and school the next day. Following a few months, I suggested that we get engaged, but she quickly changed her mind, just like she did when we were dating. She would say that she was depressed from her last relationship as an excuse. After that, she asked if we could start dating again. I had never done anything so stupid before. I told them it was fine. I believed this would prove to her that I was the right person for her. She went on dates over the next few months, but she always told me how much better I was than the other guys. I kept not going out with other people because I was too in love with her. However, I told her that if she found someone she liked, I would break up with her and let her go after him. I thought of something though after talking to my family and friends. That's why I was doing all of this for her when she wasn't even my girlfriend anymore. I told her, and she agreed, that we would not have any more personal contact until we were once again together only. But it didn't. We would go on dates, and she would make me feel bad about going too. I would give up. Right after that, she would get mad and ask, why couldn't you resist? Why did I not stop her? She became very mean and cruel. The worst part was when she said that if she got pregnant, she would never tell me, and she would be the only one who could decide what to do. I knew I would never leave my kids alone if I became a dad, so that hurt a lot. But I would just fight with her, and in the end, we'd get along again. We would still talk about a future together during all of this. It was a mixed-race baby. I'm Latino and she was white. She would say that she saw the cutest baby that could have been ours. She would call me or text me when she was sad and ask, would you still marry me? I would tell her, of course I would. I love you. Not until Christmas, when I was visiting my brother in Florida, did I start to think there was more going on. I would text her. She wouldn't answer. She wouldn't answer the phone when I called her at night to do the thing. But one time she called and asked if I had a certain movie on DVD. When I asked why, she hung up. You told me I could watch it with my family, but I felt like something wasn't right. When I got back from vacation and began the new school year, she kind of came to see me. For some reason, she came to my college and lost her Fitbit. She called me to help her. I came to help and we spent some time together, but I could tell something wasn't right. I agreed, and she told me she had something to talk to me about when I came to see her in 2 days at her parents' house. That's when I knew what was going to happen. I told some friends what was going on and got ready for the worst. It was late when I got to her folks' house. She asked me to meet her at 10 p.m. We talked for 30 minutes to an hour after she got into my car. She told me she didn't want to be with me anymore. I agreed too. I asked her if it was someone else because I could feel her pulling away. She said there wasn't anything else. She said she didn't think we were right for each other anymore. She said other things after that. She told me that she had never thought of me as a good husband candidate. That she never saw us getting married and having kids. That she had known from the start. She even said that her kids wouldn't look like her because I'm Latino and she is white. That this is funny now is because she likes to say she is progressive and not racist, right? This shocked me. I thought about all the plans we had. All the times she asked me to marry her. All those times she talked about our made-up kids. That was the worst. I told her I loved her, but I thought we were done. We chose not to get in touch. But she blocked me on Facebook because she knew that if I blocked her, I wouldn't be able to keep her blocked. So she did it. Okay, I said. We didn't block each other on our phones because I didn't have any family in the state in case of an emergency. I was sad as I drove away, but I also felt like a big weight had been taken off my shoulders. It was a tough fight for the next month. At night, I would feel sad. It hit me that she had made me rely on her. I was used to getting calls from her at night. I felt like I was by myself. Many nights, I cried myself to sleep on the floor of my room. But I put all of my energy into my job, school, and friends. Another month went by, and then I got a call early in the morning from her. I answered because I thought it was an emergency. It wasn't. It looked like she called me on the butt, which didn't make sense. We haven't talked in a month. Would she really accidentally call me? It was hard to hear, but I could see what was being said. Along with her words, I could hear another sound that I didn't know. It had to have been a guy. I swear I heard my name called out, and then the call stopped. What was it about Snow? While I know I shouldn't have, I asked some friends about her and found out she was dating someone. Then I asked her if she was okay, which I know I shouldn't have done. She didn't answer for a few days. Then she told me she had called me by accident because she wanted to talk to me. To my surprise, she said she missed being friends with me. We talked for a while, as if nothing had changed. She told me that she was seeing someone. She asked how I heard about it, so I told her from friends. I had seen a picture of the guy by that time. She began to talk about him and the bad things about him. It was interesting to listen to, but it made me feel strange. She then said that his hair was weird, and I told her that it was, but I think she was talking about his hair from years ago. She then asked me how I knew what his hair looked like back then. I told her I was sorry, but I thought she was talking about now. Then she told me that she had been getting a lot of strange friend requests on Facebook and asked if they were me. That's not true. Soon after, we ended the chat. And I began to feel strange about it. I felt happy for her at first, but the more I thought about it, the worse I felt. I knew I didn't want to keep talking to her the more I thought about it. I sent her a message the next day and told her, I liked talking to you like we used to, but I think we should keep not talking. She agreed. After that, I blocked her number. After a week, I was on campus and saw that I had a message, even though my phone hadn't rung. It was her calling to see if I was home. She came to leave some things. I thought there wasn't anything worth returning, and I was mad that she had come to my front door when no one was there to pick it up. I was getting really mad. I told her not to get in touch anymore. After that, I chose to email her. At its core, I told her that I loved her deeply but that she had hurt me badly and lied to me many times. I told her to thank her parents for being nice to me because we had a good relationship and they told me I was a great boyfriend. After that, I told her I didn't want any kind of touch from her. That she could no longer call me on my phone. I said that even though we live about an hour apart, we might run into each other because some of my friends live close by. I said, the way you treat me is how I will treat you if we see each other. If you treat me like a friend, I'll treat you like a friend. If you treat me like an enemy, I'll treat you like an enemy. If you treat me like I don't exist, I'll treat you like you don't exist. When I sent the email, I didn't think she would ever reply, but boy was I wrong. After a few days, I got a response from her dad. By the way, her dad is a doctor and used to be in the Navy. He told me in his email to stay away from his daughter. He said I was watching her, but I wasn't sure how I was doing that since I was an hour away and busy with school, work, and friends. He said I made fake Facebook accounts to cyberstalk her, which I didn't do. I had looked at her account from a friend's account a few times, but that was it. Who hasn't? But then he said something about treating her the way she treats me, and he highlighted that part and said, I consider this a threat. He then told me to leave her alone or he would find himself in court. It blew me away. I've always gotten along with her dad. What I was reading made no sense to me. I talked to a few people and helped him because I had ed some law in college. I told him, look, I don't want anything to do with your daughter. She was the one who got in touch again. In fact, she came to my house last week without telling me. Why would she risk coming to my house if I'm a stalker? He said things that couldn't be true, and I told him that no judge would ever give them a protection order. He told me not to talk to him again, and I'll do the same to him and his daughter. At that point, I thought, what the foo *K is going on? What kinds of stories did she tell about me? What sad story is she telling, and why? When I told my friends what happened, they were just as shocked. I was just told I should be happy because I avoided a nuclear attack. Like I said, I thought that was the end of the story. But this is a cheating story, a long one but still a cheating story. In January, we broke up. A friend texted me while I was at work just after the first week of April to tell me that my ex had just gotten engaged. I was shocked. It had only been 3 months. It didn't make sense to the girl who had always talked about how hard relationships were for her because her ex-fiancé cheated on her and abused her. I thought it was interesting that someone had written something on my friend's notice. Someone was happy for her that she was getting engaged and asked her to help them get together in November. In November of that year, we were still going out. Though they weren't officially together at that point, I think it was cheating when she told me there was someone else when I had already given her several chances to leave. I was furious. After that, everything fell into place. This is why she seemed cold around Christmas. That's the person she wanted to see that movie with. It hurt, but I went on with my life. But I was still having problems with sadness. Not enough trust. I told some people about it. Friends and people from church. But the more I told her about it, the more I learned about her. People who knew her but didn't know we dated told me that girl had problems. I think they shouldn't have told me those things, but whatever. It became clear to me that she never really cared about me after hearing all the mean things she said about other people. Her only wish was for someone to love her and then dump her when someone better came along. I saw that I fell in love with her not because of who she really was, but because of what she thought she was. She had heard of me, knew I was a nice person, and thought I would be easy to trick. It was like she was reflecting myself back to me. I thought I was dating someone like me, but it turned out I was dating a narcissist. But this taught me a lot about myself. I care too much. Too much love. And I need to be careful about who I love. I learned my lesson. So 6 months went by. Even though I hadn't seen her, I knew she and her husband had moved back to my city, so much for being a spy. A few of my friends had incidents with her, and one made fun of something she did in a sexual way, which made her feel bad. Love you, Danny boy, brothers for life. A friend asked me to their wedding. I couldn't make it to the service, but I did make it to the reception. I had just finished making fun of my friend in a short speech. The guy laughed so loudly and annoyingly that you wouldn't believe it. When I finished talking and was about to sit down, a friend from work walked into the room. Who was standing behind her? My ex-girlfriend and her husband. She caught me off guard when I saw her. We looked at each other right before she walked into the room. At that moment, she didn't walk into the room. Instead, she pushed her husband back into the hallway where he couldn't see her. She then quickly followed him. I was shocked, so I left the building and went to the other side to gather my thoughts and feelings. I was fine, but it was interesting how shocked I was to see her. I went back into the room after a while and saw that my ex and her husband had not been there. Then I asked my friend if he had invited her, and he said yes. I told him that letting me know would have been nice, but he said he hadn't even thought about it because we weren't that close. He was more of a friend of one of my best friends. Anyway, some time went by, and the newlyweds were about to dance their first dance. So, we all moved some chairs out of the way. While putting chairs away on the side of a door, my ex came through that door, saw that I was right next to her, and ran across the room with her husband. The rest of the reception, we didn't look at each other at all, but a couple of times. But at that moment, I felt whole again. It had been months since the breakup, and I still felt like a piece of myself was missing. But now, seeing how she reacted makes me feel better. She looked so ashamed. It felt like my power was coming back. For the first time, I was really happy. I had won the breakup, even though she was married and I wasn't. She felt bad about looking at me. That didn't happen to me. I had a clear head in general. Now I'm writing this, more than 4 years after the breakup. I'm still single, but I'm happy in general. Also, Maddie, Fu***ku if you read this. It turns out that I finished college, while you're just a housewife. As much as they said they would change the world, sh**t. You're going to lie and cheat all your life and only change dirty diapers.